Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be talking about how to carry a support and overviews. This is going to cover the basic principles for why you can carry a support in solo queue and gain a lot of elo. So let's go ahead and get in here and talk about this. I'm going to try to make this a little bit of a faster video than usual. If you want to see the Google Doc that I'm going to be reading down here, or just kind of using as guideline, then you can go into the description and find that, and I'll also have some timestamps you can jump around and find your favorite parts as well. Now, I did a video like this I guess probably about 6 months ago at this point, but I've updated it now. It was a much smaller channel then, so I think that a lot of people maybe haven't watched it, haven't dig through the archives to find it. And I get asked this question constantly on stream, right? So I'd say in any given time, you know, in a 5-hour stream, I'll probably get asked this question at least 5 different times. Some variation of how do I carry a support? How is it possible? How can you win a support when your AD carry is always bad? And all of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to try to answer all of that right here and why support is important and how you can actually carry with it in solo queue. Because it is a misperception. You know, most people out there who give advice on how to gain a lot of elo will tell you that support is the worst role. And I think that's wrong. So let's go ahead and look. Okay, the number one thing is you're eliminating a common liability. Now, yesterday I played a bunch of different roles just to kind of try it out, to get some different perspectives, as to work on a secondary role that I could use. And I would say in at least probably 50% to a third of the time when I don't pick support, someone's getting auto-filled and they don't want to play it, or they don't know how to play it. That happened numerous times. And so whenever you play support, you are eliminating one of the most popular, probably the most popular position that gets auto-filled. And it's awful when a support gets auto-filled because they're not going to know how to play the bottom lane very well. They're not going to know how to ward correctly. They're not going to know how to control objectives. There's a lot more to support than people think, and nobody practices it. It's just something they get auto-filled into. And so, you know, if you are a good support and you know what's going on, there's a good chance the enemy's probably going to have an auto-filled support. And they're going to be at a massive disadvantage because of that. So it puts you at an advantage over the enemy team, and it also stops one of the common liabilities from your team so that people are more likely to get the role that they want because you have taken out the support role so no one else has to play it. So that's a major, major thing, and don't underestimate that. It's huge. Okay? Another thing is that you can specialize in one role. So when you play support, you're going to get that role probably 90% of the time or more, because it's the rarest role by far. And so that allows you to really specialize. So you're going to get it every single time. So this is great for if you really like to one trick, or if you just really want to have a pretty narrow champion pool, or just really understand one role in depth, you can do that. No other role is going to give you that, because you're going to have to get, you're going to get placed into your off role quite a lot, and you might even get auto-filled. So, you know, if you try to play top lane, for example, you just might, and specialize in top lane, you just might get auto-filled down to AD carry or support, even if you say top mid. And so you're not going to have practiced those, and so you're going to be at a big disadvantage because you're going to be out of your element. Whereas when you're support, you're going to get it so much that it's almost statistically insignificant the amount of times that you're going to have to play your off role. And if you do play an off role, just have 1 or 2 champions in mind that you can play in that off role, and there's no way you'll ever get a third role. You're always autofill protected, which means you get one of your 2 roles every single time if you play support. So I highly recommend as an off role either top lane or jungle. I think jungle is probably the best, especially if you can get Ivern. He's very similar to supports in many of his principles and the ways that he plays. I really like Ivern a lot. Another one might be like Nunu in the jungle, or maybe Gragas. You can play things that are similar to support in the jungle, and you know, you will have to understand like timings and stuff like that, but at least you won't have to compete for CS, and at least you can't get counterpicked really in the jungle that much or that hard. Because that's one thing in playing some of the other roles that I've discovered, is that, you know, people who have a lot more practice in those roles, who play it a lot, will counterpick you really hard. Sometimes, like I played a Kled and someone counterpicked Kennen into me. I can't remember a lot of the other ones, but I felt like I got counterpicked really hard a lot of the time. So when you play jungle, you can't really get counterpicked. Like there are junglers that are good against other junglers, but you're not really facing off with them like directly in a lane. You can still outmaneuver and outsmart them if you're the jungler. So I recommend jungle as a second role, but then top lane as well can be all right because you can pick kind of a safe tank and just with crowd control like Nautilus or something, and then just farm and do the best you can top lane and then be relevant later. I think that AD carry is one of the worst because you're not going to have a lot of practice CSing, and mid lane is also pretty hard because that is a very matchup dependent meta in the mid lane, and if you don't have a lot of familiarity with various matchups and counter picks and stuff like that, you're going to have a hard time. So I recommend jungle, or if you don't like jungle, top lane. But yeah, you should get your number one role most of the time, and you'll always get one of your two favorite roles. Another key element is you get to protect objectives as support, and this is one of the biggest things if you don't play support that can be very frustrating. Is number one, let me pull up a map here. Okay. So whenever you play bottom lane, there's two people bottom lane, first of all. So if a jungler comes down and kills two people, or gets a successful gank in the bottom lane, they're probably going to kill two people instead of just one if they went top lane. Bottom lane also has much lower armor on their towers, so it's easier to take the towers. So if people get ganked and killed, then it's likely that they're going to take a tower, or they could take a dragon. All of these are really good options. So you have the that's what makes bottom lane the most important lane during the laning phase, because there's two potential kills, towers are really easy to get, and there's dragon. Whereas top lane, even if the top laner dies, the top tower is probably not going to fall after the first gank. Rift Herald doesn't mean anything. As of 7.8, 7.9, that might be more important. We'll see. And mid lane, if that person dies, it's not going to trigger as much of a snowball. So bottom lane is the most important role early on because there's so much at stake here. It's so easy to get those towers. The bottom lane towers fall the majority of the time first. And dragon and the two kills. So when you play bottom as support, you get to protect all of that through wards and through sort of careful management of the lane. So pinging people back, playing supports that have good peel or escapes. You're really calling the shots, and you're really the majority of the influence in a lane, you know, especially for the first 6 levels or so. The supports are the ones that would do most of the damage and or have most of the peel and pushing power compared to a lot of AD carries. So that's why it's really, really important as a support. You're the gatekeeper to all of the objectives that are really important on the map early on, most of them. And so that makes it one of the most influential roles in a game, because if the support fails, let's say you go top lane and your support gets autofilled down here, if they get a couple of kills down here in a tower and then pick up a dragon or something, it's just about game over. I mean, you can come back and win, but you're in a very bad position at that point. Whereas if your bottom lane and your top lane gets autofilled and they die a couple of times, that's not good, but that's not as bad as the bottom lane both dying a couple of times and getting towers and dragons and such. So just keep in mind, I know it's frustrating when other people fail at other roles. You're like, dang it, if I just went top lane, I could do that. Or if I went mid lane, I'd do so much better than that. But just keep in mind, like, the opposite. Like, what happens if you do well mid or top and your bottom lane fails really hard because they're autofilled? Somewhere, you know, statistically is going to fail probably every game. There's 3 lanes. The probability of you winning every single lane is unlikely, right? So even winning 2 lanes is somewhat unlikely. You know, statistically, you should win about a lane and a half. So you should win 1 lane and have a tie in 1 lane statistically most of the time is what should happen. Or tie in all lanes. But either way, winning all 3 is very, very rare. So if you have to pick a lane that's going to fail, and there's going to be some lane that fails most likely, you probably want it to be top or mid. You do not want the bottom lane to fail. Okay, and even if they do fail, like maybe your AD carries behind, you can mitigate a lot of that. You can do a lot of damage control, right? So you can peel them, get them out of stuff. Even if they're down in CS, you can stop them from dying. You can put up good vision, at least make sure the enemy doesn't get a free dragon. There's a lot of stuff you can do to mitigate advantages that the enemy could get bottom lane. And finally, shot calling. So shot calling is super important. This is the number one thing that I talk about in my coaching videos, is you need to shot call. You need to ping. Let people know when you don't have your summoners. Let people know when top just use their teleport. Let people know when Dragon's going to be up in 1 minute. You know, you should be communicating all of these things. Ping people when you're going to engage, when you're just about to engage as a Nautilus, or when you're going to go for that hook as Blitzcrank or whatever. Ping it a few times just so people know when they're ready that you're going to go. Press G and then left click to target towers or target champions. So in a gank, if you really need to target out that support, like let's say you want to kill the Soraka because, you know, they have an Ezreal with flash, ping the Soraka, put a little thing over them, a little crosshairs, and that way your jungler will know that's who you should kill. So they may not necessarily go for him, but if there's a little flashing dot and some pings over them, then it's going to be a little bit more clear, and they're more likely to go for it. So that's a huge deal as support, because you don't have to CS, you don't have to hit crowd control, or not, you don't have to try to get a creep score. Then that allows you to watch your minimap more and ping. Ping if the jungler, you see him top lane on a ward. Just ping everything that's relevant. Okay. So that's why support. You have the best shot calling potential. You have great vision control. Oh, vision control is one that I skipped. So vision control is another massive thing, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the fact that you get to control most of the map in terms of vision is astronomical. Vision is what helps you make good decisions. So if you get that sight zone early and you start getting some vision, you know, like here, here, or if you're on red side, maybe you get some vision like here and down here. That can really help your jungler make good decisions. So I can't tell you how important it is to get really good vision. You know, when I play other roles and there's someone who's autofilled to support and they just hardly ever get proper vision. So it's really, really important that you get good vision so that you can make good decisions. Because remember, wards aren't just defensive. Like some people think, oh, well, wards are defensive because they help you from getting ganked. So I don't need wards if I just position well and I'm just really like aware of where the jungler could be. False. You still need wards because it helps your jungler make decisions. So for example, let's say you have a ward sitting right here and we see their Master Yi at Gromp. Then if your jungler's over here near wolves, they can say, oh, okay, I know I can go top and get an easy gank on this top laner who's pushed up because I know their jungler's not going to be there. Or let's say that you have this warded and you see their Evelynn getting red, for example, and your jungler just happens to be in this area, then we can ping dragon really quick and I'll just go over there and grab the dragon and muscle up because we see where they are. So, and we know that she's not going to show up. So that's why it's really, really important. Or maybe, for instance, you have a ward right here, and there's a Zac, enemy Zac that's sitting here, just like waiting to fly over this wall and engage, and your mid laner's pushed up to right here, and they might normally try to go all in, but if they see that Zac there and you ping them, then they're going to back up a little bit and not get caught and killed. So there's so many uses for vision, and it's just so important to keep good vision, and you get to do that as support. So that's really important. Okay, so that's why support's really important. Let's talk about how to win in 5 steps. So it does involve some of these, but I've got some other stuff here for you as well. All right, so number 1, you need to understand compositions and pick appropriately. So you need to ban appropriate champions, pick appropriate champions. You need to dodge if you have less than a 40% chance to win on your first dodge, and dodge if you have a 25% chance to win on your second dodge. Now I talk about why this is, and I talk about my tier list video right here. So I'm not going to go into huge depth, but I will touch on them very briefly. So right now, as of 7.8, scroll down, here's the tier list. If you click on this, watch the video. It's really important video-wise, but you can also click on any of these. So let's say you want to know, well, what about Janna? How would I recommend building Janna? You click on that. It's going to tell you matchups, recommended items, runes, masteries, and an in-depth Janna guide that's available right here. So there's a lot of good info. But the tier 1 supports are Lulu, Janna, Rakan, and Soraka. So anything that's a utility support, anything that really benefits from Wind Speakers, Redemption, and Locket is the key. So that's going to be those champions. Now, I highly recommend Janna is the best one right now. She's a great safe pick. She's really strong in almost any composition. She can stop people from engaging. She scales up really hard with your AD carry because she gives all that extra AD damage. Doesn't even have to be your AD carry. It could be a Graves. You know, it could be a Master Yi. It could be a Fiora top lane. The extra AD that she gives off with her shield is massive. Now, Lulu is also really good, particularly if you have an auto attack hyper carry. So if you have a Kog'Maw, a Twitch, Caitlyn, stuff like that. Lulu can be very good. Lulu is harder to play than Janna most of the time because she's not as safe, but she can still be quite good. Rakan is very good with Zyra, and he's good in a bunch of different situations. So I'm not totally convinced that he's better than Lulu or Janna, but I think that he can be really good. And then Soraka is good against the previous 3 champions as long as the enemy doesn't have enough engage. So she's quite strong. Now, if you want to play a tank, I think Blitzcrank's really good. He potentially deserves a spot in the tier 1. Most tier lists will have him up there. It just depends on how many hooks you hit. If you hit a lot of hooks, he's definitely a tier 1 champion. If you don't hit a lot of hooks, then he's going to be a little bit lower. Nami's pretty good. Tom Kinch is good. Nautilus is a great sort of engage support. Fiddlesticks is kind of niche. He can be good as sort of an AP champion if you need some more crowd control, and Zyra is also a really good crowd control champion. So this is the tier list. Make sure that you're picking some of these top-end champions. If you find yourself picking something like, I don't know. If you find yourself picking, like, silent support all the time, right? And you're losing and you're only winning like 30%. You might need to switch it up. Try out some Nautilus. And I know that's not the most popular idea, and people are gonna, there will be people that don't like that concept, but it's true. There are some champions that are just better than others on any given patch in certain matchups. And that's just all there is to it. I mean, that's just how it is. Now, I know people want to say, but I really love my Scion support, or I really love my Taric support, or I really love, Leona or Braum or whatever, and that's fine. I mean, some people can win a lot of games with them, but in my estimation, you're going to have a higher percentage chance to win with the tier 1 and tier 2 champions. And maybe the top end of tier 3, like if you're very good with Thresh, Sona, or Karma, you might still be able to win a lot. But I think you're definitely handicapping yourself. So yeah, you could win with some of these other champions, but I think that in general, you want to try to gravitate towards mastering some of these top end champions, if possible. Now, obviously, if you hate a champion, don't play it. But, I think that it's important to at least think carefully about why you're picking what you're picking. And just in terms of, like, the types of champions you should pick, I talk about this in my Champion Select video quite a lot. Champions, you need to make sure that you're banning champions that are high scaling, useful in a lot of different compositions, uniquely powerful, so there's not a good replacement, very limited counterplay, relatively low skill cap, difficult to mess up, and are popular. So, I recommend Master Yi, Lulu, Ivern, Kassadin, Graves, and Anivia. So those would be the ones that I would recommend, but there are other viable ones out there. I think that Kassadin is probably public enemy number 1 right now. Master Yi is pretty far up there, and Lulu and Ivern. These 4 definitely need to be banned every game. And if you only have 1 ban, I would definitely take Kassadin out of there. He's just absurd right now. You definitely want to ban those. And when you're picking champions, aside from just my tier list, if you're thinking theoretically about champions and you want to make your own tier list, then use the ban theory to inform your selection process. So try to pick champions that are useful in many compositions, uniquely powerful without a comparable replacement, high scaling, very few counters, popular. So sometimes if you pick Lulu, it keeps the enemy from picking Lulu, for example, and a reasonable skill level. So something that you feel comfortable that you can perform at a high level with. And if you are a higher pick, you need to pick a safer champion. So, you should not pick, I don't know, something like Brand support or Soraka support, I don't think, as your first pick, because there are pretty strong counter picks to those champions out there. So a good first pick would be something like a Lulu, Janna, or a Karma, because there is not a lot of good counterplay to them. They're very safe, and they all scale very well. So if your first pick, maybe some of those. If you drop down to 5th pick, then maybe you can pull out your spicy Brand or your spicy Bard or whatever. But if your top pick, it needs to be something that's really safe. Okay, and then finally, this is another one that can get controversial. The other night on stream, it was a little controversial because I had a dodge. I had a couple of dodges, actually, which was sad. I don't like using the second dodge for 30 minutes on stream, but on occasion, it rarely happens. You need to be dodging more games. Almost everybody needs to be dodging more games. Think of this like a fold from poker. So if you have a bad hand, if you have a 2-7 offsuit, if you're playing Texas Hold'em, then yeah, you can win, right? Like, you can win. if you get a full house or something on the flop. But you're unlikely to win, so you should fold. Even if you have a decent amount of money in the pot, so let's say that you were big blind or whatever, or maybe you tried to bluff and you already put some chips in the pot, you should still probably fold that hand, even if you're losing a little bit of money. Because in the long run, if you fold that hand enough times, you're going to gain because you're not going to lose as much. So the same principle is true of dodging. And I do some math. Just watch the Champion Select video. I'm just going over the highlights here, but there's a lot of good info in there. If you have a 40% chance to win a game and you're gaining and losing 20 LP per game, then you're going to lose an average of 4 LP every time you play that game. So if you dodge for -3 LP, you're actually gaining 1 LP if you dodge at about a 40% success chance. Which means that if you play over the course of 200 days a year and you dodge once per day, 140% gain per day, you would eventually gain 200 LP, which is 2 divisions. Now, 200 days per year is not much. It's 4 days a week, even if you only play a couple of games per day. So that's a really, really big deal. So you should be dodging, you know, if you get that Aatrox top and that Ezreal bottom, depending on what the enemy picks, you should definitely be running through your head, do I need to dodge this? I mean, unless you have, like, a Yi jungle and a Kassadin middle or something like that, you should highly, highly consider dodging something like that. So keep that in mind. If you have a 25% chance to win a game or less, so it's just looking real bad. I mean, you've got Aatrox top, Scion jungle, Scion jungle, Aatrox top, Ezreal bottom, and your mid laners going like Volibear or something like that. You should definitely dodge that game, even if it's for 10 LP. All right, and then I'll walk down and explain how that works a little bit more down here. We'll revisit winning lane theory here in a second and how that impacts what you should do. But yeah, make sure you watch those videos and just understand compositions. If you don't want to follow my tier list exactly, that's fine. I encourage people to branch out and make, think about their own picks, but at least think about the theories that I'm talking about with pick, dodge, and ban. So even if you disagree with part of them, at least take them into consideration, because that's really important information to understand and process. So you need to be picking good champions for the composition. If you're picking subpar champions for compositions consistently, you're just not going to win as many games. And that's just how it is. I know sometimes people have their favorite champion and they think, well, I'm going to one-trick this champion no matter what. Well, if it's something that can get countered really easily, or something that's just not good in a particular meta, then you might want to consider something else. Okay, so manage your lane for success. So understand matchups and play accordingly, okay? So winning lane does not always mean getting more CS and getting more kills. Sometimes it means that, but sometimes it doesn't. So I talk about this in Champion Select as well. So winning lane theory. So there are 3 ways to win a lane, if you think about this, okay? Now sometimes lanes will have all 3 of these, but sometimes they might only have 1 or 2, and you have to kind of measure it up in your head. So the 3 ways to win lane are traditional, getting more kills and CS than your enemy, pressure, so taking towers, roaming, or even just pushing in a tower and getting deeper wards. This is a way that you can win. If you constantly are able to exert more pressure on the map than the enemy, that's a form of winning. Also scaling. So if you're going to perform better later in the game than the enemy, then it's okay if you fall behind in terms of CS and sometimes even kills. So if you have a Twitch versus Ezreal, and that Ezreal starts off going 2-0 and he's up 20 CS, but Twitch is still kind of like hanging around in the game, you might still consider that a Twitch win, depending on what else is going on with your team, because he's just going to scale much harder than Ezreal is. So the best winning lanes have all 3 of these. This is why I like Draven so much as an AD carry right now, because he almost always wins in CS. He pushes the tower, so he gets extra tower pressure. He has heavy kill threat early on. And his scaling is really, really high for late game, so he wins all stages of the game, for the most part. Twitch is similar, although he doesn't have as great of an early game. He does exert a lot of pressure because he can go invisible and roam very, very well, and he can push decently. And he scales extremely hard. So an example would be, Lulu Draven is a winning lane over Ezreal Janna for all three reasons. Draven's going to get more CS, has more kill pressure, he's going to push Ezreal to tower, and he's going to scale better than Ezreal. But if you have a Twitch Janna, that's likely to be a winning lane over Lucian Karma. So Lucian's more likely to potentially get a kill and to get some CS early. Lucian's going to push Twitch to tower, but Twitch is going to drastically outscale Lucian later. So reasonable people can disagree about this. You know, some people will say, well, none of that matters except for CS and kills. But why is Janna so strong despite losing every lane on the metric of CS and kills? So she's probably going to be one of the supports that forces less kills and helps the AD carry get less CS than virtually any other support. But she still wins in terms of scaling big time, and sometimes in terms of pressure. And I'm not just like a Janna, like, let me show you this really quick, because I talked about this on stream the other day. So if you go, just Google up League of Legends tier list, and just look at the first couple of tier lists that show up at the very top of Google's. These are the most trafficked tier lists. If you look at the best champions, Lulu, Janna, Blitzcrank, Soraka. So I'm not crazy. I'm not like out there, you know, the strategy professor coming up with weird, you know, tier lists. Like, this is very standard, most of it. They have Blitzcrank a little bit higher than I do. And they have Rakan a little bit lower. I don't even, this is 7.8. Okay. That's strange. Where, oh, they have, okay, they have Rakan tier 2. Okay, and I disagree with that Scion in tier 1. But the God tier, you know, Janna's going to be on every God tier. And, you know, Lulu's going to be up there too, and probably Soraka. I mean, let's look at Ranked Boost. Another very popular site. God tier. Okay, they have Rakan up here, so they disagree a little bit. But everyone's going to have Janna, so they don't have Soraka as high. Everyone's going to have Janna. Everyone's going to have Lulu. All right, and they have Karma and Rakan, so this is for higher level play, especially the Karma. And Malzahar. But I'm not crazy. Like, Janna is really that good. So anyways, Janna, like, it doesn't make sense that Janna's that good if the only way to measure a lane accurately is in terms of kills and CS. Just think about that. Why is Janna so good? Why does every major reputable source that does tier lists, why do they put Janna in the God tier if she always loses lane? It's because people have the wrong definition of losing and winning lane, because she scales so well into the late game. So that's why I redefine it in the video there, and I give a definition that explains why, while also consistently recognizing that CS and kills often generate wins. And it's because there are several different ways to win a lane. Okay, so watch that. Pick champions that are going to win lane in at least some way. Like, you don't want to pick a support that's going to lose in scaling. It's going to lose to pressure in lane. And it's going to lose to CS and kills. So right now, a lot of tanks. And, you know, I don't want to talk too much trash about people's favorite champions. But there are some champions that just do not exert enough pressure early on. They're going to get outscaled. And, I mean, let me pick something that someone is unlikely to really feel that strongly about. Like, I don't know, maybe Nasus. Like, Nasus support or whatever. He's not, well, he actually has a little bit of push. He could maybe pressure into lane. But he's going to get outscaled. Well, maybe he's not an example, because he might be able to scale depending on how the game goes. I'm trying to, like, Skarner support, or something like that, right? So he's going to get pushed in, he's going to get outscaled by, you know, virtually every other support, and he's not going to be able to exert a ton of pressure, like a little bit off of his roams. But you want to pick champions that do at least some of those things that I described. Okay, another thing that you need to do, how are we looking on time? Dang it, I wanted to make this faster. We'll see if we can keep it to at least an hour. Don't take bad trades. So if they have a heal and you don't, do not fight them early on. Like, just try to push the lane and avoid fights. So for example, and I see this happen over and over and over again at the platinum level. Like, the enemy has a Soraka, you know, we have a Lucian, and I'm Janna or something in lane early, and they have like a Soraka Zyra. And the Lucian will go up and just try to go really hard and try to all in that Zyra, like level 2, and Soraka just heals through it, exhausts, and then all of a sudden, you know, Zyra's back up to full health and Lucian's at 1/3 health. And you just have to accept that if they have a heal early on, unless you can 100% like grab them with Blitzcrank or something and blow them up, if they have a heal, don't trade with them. It's either all or nothing if they have a heals. That's, don't, you know, so you don't want to do these little poke fights with Sona, Nami, or Soraka primarily. So try not to trade if they have a heal. Just push, farm, because most of the healing champions will fall off later in the game depending on what's going on, and they can be hard countered by things like Morello's and Executioner's Calling. Pay attention to the creeps. This is something that a lot of people forget or lose sight of. Do not fight in creeps. So let me pull up this image again here. So let's say they have you pushed in a tower. Let's say your bot blue, not quite pushed in, but let's say there's like an 8 stack of creeps here, and you have maybe 5 creeps, and they're just kind of pushing into it. Do not run into these creeps and fight them, or those creeps are going to kill you. Creeps do a lot of damage early on, and you really do not want to fight in creeps. On the flip side, you know, if you're pushed up to here, and they want, you know, their Leona wants to engage on you, and about, you know, 8 different creeps, then yeah, go ahead and fight her, because they're going to turn around and start fighting. If you don't know how the creeps work, if you auto-attack somebody, the creeps will switch their aggro and start attacking you. If you hit somebody with a spell, they will not attack you. So keep that in mind. So if there are a lot of creeps, you know, if you're Zyra, you can still throw your roots and plant in there if you want, but if you auto-attack them, those creeps are going to turn around and get you. So just be very careful with your auto-attacks when you're in a huge creep wave. If you don't auto, they won't hit you. If you auto, they're going to hit you. And they add up. So you want to prep creeps for the AD carry when pushing or at the tower. So you just want to be auto-attacking the creeps, trying to push up if you can. If it's at tower and there are caster minions, you know, typically you want to auto-attack a caster minion once. And then that will help your AD carry hit them in one shot after a tower hit. So sometimes that changes if there's a bunch of creeps stacked up that are doing a little bit of extra damage to the casters. But in general, you want to auto once, and that'll help your AD carry last hit. You don't need to auto-attack the big minions, the melee minions, when they're at the tower. Because it's usually, they can take 2 tower shots and then 1 shot from the AD carry, and they'll make it. So just practice prepping the creeps for your AD carry. Now think carefully about whether to push or whether to not push. So pushing makes it harder for the enemy to last hit because it's going to be under tower, and it's hard to last hit under tower. But it makes you very vulnerable to a jungler. So you should default to pushing to gain a CS advantage, but you want to make sure that you're warded or careful. So, for example, if you blue side, put it into their tower, but don't stand like right here and try to auto-attack them under tower when this river is dark, right? So you want to push them in a tower and then just like hang out back here, try to get a ward, you know, here or here, but just kind of hang out in the back. Because if you're back here, it's going to be really hard for them to engage on you, because they're going to have all those creeps in their face, and if they engage, they're going to miss creeps. So let's say, you know, the jungler Graves, like you just push them in a tower and you're right here, jungler Graves jumps over this plant and tries to make a play on you, you could just run away. And if they try to chase you and make a play with jungle Graves, then they're going to miss those last hits. That's kind of how you want to manage it. And knock out this blast plant too, whenever you can. Just try to ward over this wall or find some way to look over this wall and hit that blast plant. And that takes away a lot of jungle roots from people. Because if Graves has to dash through this wall and then run out, then he's not going to have his gap closer anymore. So if he gets to blast plant over and then run in here, then he's going to have his dash and his flash to try to finish people off. So you want to take away, even if they have a way to jump the wall, you want to take away and make them use their jump movement. Okay. And always push in the wave before you back. And finally, pay attention to junglers. So if your jungler ganks top and their jungler is not top, that means they're probably bottom. So, let's say your jungler ganks top, they fight for like 10 seconds, other jungler doesn't show up at all, that means they're probably down here on the bottom side of the map. So if you're pushed in, you need to back up. If you see a killed top lane and you don't see their jungler top lane, because that means either the person is really, really bad or mad at the top laner, and so the jungler's just not showing up, or it means that they're on the other side of the map. And just give them credit, they're probably on the other side of the map if you don't have it worded. Think about pathing too. Now, it's a little bit more advanced, but like a lot of junglers, for example, will start blue. They'll start on the bottom side, either blue or red, because they get a better leash, and then they'll work their way to the top. So top lane at 3 minutes is kind of the historical when ganks would tend to go down. Sometimes people might go middle lane, but you can't always count on that. But in general, it's a little bit safer to go ahead and push early and then put up some wards later to help prevent ganks. Okay, so number 3, how to win. Understand the situation. So press tab and look at items. Understand power. If they have, for example, a completed Blade of the Run King and your AD carry only has a Bilgewater, don't fight them, because they're going to be much, much stronger. Once they complete that Blade, it's way, way better than the components. So you want to support your power. So that means that if you have a really strong jungler or a really strong mid laner, you want to play around that person and help them do better. So you want to support strength and try to avoid weakness. So if your AD carry is just really underperforming, try to go play with the jungler or try to go play with the mid laner. So you might just have to let bottom lane fall and then rotate and help other places. So some people ask me, well, how do I win if my AD carry is bad all the time? Well, that's how you do it. You leave your AD carry and you go do something else a lot of times. Now, if they're going to go AFK or something, if you don't go down there, then you might need to go down there. But in general, just explain, just say something like, our jungler's doing really well. I'm going to try to go help them out, get some more ganks. I'm going to try to go help get some kills middle. Just chill and farm down bottom or something like that. I'll give you some words. Stay in dialogue with them. Let them know what you're doing. Don't call them bad. Just focus on the strength. Say our AD carry is doing, or our mid laner is doing very well. I'm going to try to help them make some plays. So don't say you're bad, I'm leaving you. Say our jungler is strong, or our mid's strong, or our top strong. I'm going to go try to make a play with them. That type of stuff. Now, some people will still get mad, but other people, might understand. Okay, so think about the jungler's point of view. So where is he or she most likely to gank? And then ward for this person if possible. And direct your team to play around their jungler. So for example, if you think the jungler is going to go top, push in your lane, bot, and direct your jungler to help you take the dragon. So this is kind of a little advanced, so it's seeing what is not seen. But let's say that jungler's already been top once and got a kill. Let's say that you, top lane, you have a Darius, and they have like a Nautilus or something like that. The jungler, is like, I don't know, Master Yi or whatever. It's really easy for Nautilus to engage on that Darius, and Darius has no escapes. And he's already died once, so he's probably not going to have his summoners. So if Darius just keeps pushing and he's pushed up to this, ping him back, tell him, hey, jungler's probably coming, and then come down here. Hopefully you've got some good vision like here and here at some point. And if your jungler, it just like finishes red, tell your team, hey, go get dragon. I think that Yi's top. And then rotate over there to do it. Because he's going to come up here and kill this Darius again, probably. So it does take a little bit of extra thinking, but especially if you see the jungler top, that's easy. Then you definitely can ping dragon and try to go do it. Because then you're going to have a 4v3 bottom lane. 4v4 if the top lane TP's in. But yeah, you should be trying to anticipate where the jungler is and make good plays around the map based on them. So just put yourself in their point of view. What's the easiest lane to gank? Who's pushed up with no escapes? Who's pushed up with no wards? And ping that person back and to be careful. And then play around where you think the jungler is going to be. Okay, so know the strengths of your team and play accordingly. So if you have a fed Tryndamere, for example, top lane, he's 3-0, and the rest of your team is kind of underperforming, just try to find ways to push lanes and let that Tryndamere split push. Or for example, let's say that you have, I don't know, a really fed let's say you're really fed as Zyra, then you want to group up in team fights. Let's say you're 4-0 as Zyra and you just finished your Sorcerer boots and your Haunting Guides. Direct your team to go mid lane. Say, I'm really strong right now. Let's team fight and try to go pick a fight middle. So if you have a good team fighting composition, try to get your team to team fight. If you have a good split push composition, try to get your team to split push. You know, there are a lot of different viable strategies to win, but just do what your team is best at. You know, don't like... If you have a really good split pusher like Trend, don't all group up as 5 when maybe their enemy has a really good team fight. So if they have like an Amumu, a Kennen, and a Misfortune or something like that, don't try not to get your team to group up if you have a good split pusher. So just think about what's your win condition, who are your best champions, and play around them as much as you can. So if you have a Kassadin or a Master Yi, those champions are very strong and snowball really hard. So you want to play around that. And direct your team to play around that as much as possible. So recognize when you're ahead and when you're behind. This is for any role, so not just support. So this is something that people will fall victim to also. You know, even if you have a good matchup. So let's say that you have Vayne into Ezreal, like a classic good matchup for Vayne early bottom lane. But Ezreal's like 3-0. You know, he just completed his Sheen and his Muramana or something, or maybe Manamune or whatever, bottom lane, and your Vayne is still just sitting on like a Bilgewater and, you know, some other component to Bork, recurve bow. Don't fight him. Even though you have a favorable matchup, like, do not fight them. If they have a couple of kills on you, just look at those items, and think about itemization too. So maybe that Caitlyn has BF Zeal, and you still have, you know, recurve bow and Bilgewater. Don't fight her. She's going to be stronger. So even though the score might be 0-0, she's going to have better items. Or a more common example, if you have Caitlyn as BF Sword or let's say the enemy has Caitlyn BF Sword and your Ezreal comes back with like Tear the Goddess and a Cole or something like that, do not fight that because you're going to lose. So just know the power spikes of different champions, know when they're going to be strong, practice it, think about it, and play accordingly. If you're behind, do not start fights. It's okay. Just wait on someone else on your team to hit their power spike and play around them. So watch the mini-map also before major fights. So if, you know, does your top laner have teleport? If your top laner doesn't have teleport and an enemy does, do not push up too far. Like, don't go dive in their tower with 3 people, even if it's 3v2 with the jungler, if you know this is warded and the enemy has a teleport. They can just teleport right behind you and clean you up. So just keep track of teleports. You know, if everyone on your team is in position. So, you know, even if they are out of position, like let's say you're chasing a couple people here and it's like all darkness everywhere later in the game, and, you know, your Lucian and your Ivern are back here and you have 3 people chasing right here, stop. Because what happens if the other 4 people come rolling up out of this jungle, kill both of you, and then get Baron? It's going to be bad. So don't chase. Even though it looks like it might be a good idea, if you don't have vision and none of them are on the map, don't chase. You know, you might say, but there was just 1 of them. No, there were 4 of them. Or 5 of them. You just didn't see them because you didn't have vision. Or, I mean, even if you have like your AD carry up here, let's say you got the Twitch up here, just split pushing farming, the other 5 people are here in middle, even though you told everyone to come middle, if somebody's not there, you got to ping back and just say, don't 4v5, don't 4v5. So is it their fault for not being with the group? Yes. But it's also your fault for starting a fight when they're not with the group. So, you know, we don't live in a world of ideals. You just have to work with what you have. And if your team's just not giving it to you, even if you should be going Baron after you get 2 kills, or this happened to me the other night, you know, people wanted to get Baron after we had 4 kills and it was just a support left and we had 2 open inhibitors. The correct play is to go for 2 open inhibitors. There were 40-second death timers, but they decided to get Baron instead. So we ended up winning the game, but it was the right call to go for these. So sometimes, you know, you just have to play around what your allies are giving you, but a lot of that starts with watching the mini and making sure you're not starting 4v5 fights. Think about what if. So what if that jungler is in the bush? What if Riven flanks us in this team fight? You know, what if their top lane teleports to this fight? to just think in your mind all of these kind of what if scenarios, and just play around them the best you can. Obviously, you're going to have to take some kind of risks as the game unfolds, but you just want to be measured and calculated in your risks. Okay, so next one, shot call. So understand objective priorities and direct your team. Inhibitor is greater than Baron, and that's, you know, tower is about equal to dragon. Baron's greater than tower or dragon, and all of that stuff is greater than buffs. So be proactive, ping several times in advance when you want to take these objectives. And also think about pinging other things. So ping where the jungler is, ping your own summoner spells, ping your ally summoner spells, ping your enemy summoner spells. You know, ping missing, ping whenever you want to engage. It's really important to communicate information to your team. And as far as this goes, I've heard debates all the time. Well, if we get Baron, then we can go do, you know, Inhibitor later. Or, I don't know. People don't debate Tower and Dragon that much. It depends on which Dragon it is. And a lot of times those are close enough. But the big, you know, the big one that people often debate is Inhibitor and Baron. If Inhibitor is open, which means it doesn't have a tower and it's free, you need to get Inhibitor. One of the major reasons, especially if the jungler is up, is because no one can steal the Inhibitor. When you kill the Inhibitor, that's it. You know, when you try to go for Dragon and the jungler's up, they can steal the Baron. Or when you try to go for Baron, they can steal it. So that's one of the major reasons why you want to go Inhibitor over Baron. And when you get the Inhibitor, then it pushes the lane into their base, and eventually you're going to get Baron off of it anyways. So it's easier to get the Baron because you're going to have map pressure. Whereas if you have the Baron and you're trying to push into their base, yes, you do have the extra pressure from the Baron buff, but they still could hold you at the tower, or they still could hold you at the Inhibitor, so you have to actually fight them. If you get the Inhibitor, it means you probably don't have to fight them, and you're going to get a Baron anyways, if you manage it right and have... Or it'll give you at least a major advantage. So let's say that your middle, you just killed 4 people, and there's a wave pushing. You can either go back and get Baron, or you can walk up, take tower and Inhibitor. If you walk up and take tower and Inhibitor, you still get some global from the tower, you get Inhibitor, come back, you ward this stuff, you come back over here, you put a pink here, you sweep this area, you ward up this and this. Push up middle lane. Now they have a decision. Well, there's a couple of supers that are like right here, and there's Baron. I would say 9 times out of 10 at Platinum or lower, someone's going to come through here to look at this. Either the support or the jungler or somebody is going to come through and have a look at Baron while the AD carry on the enemy team is over here clearing supers. So whenever they come through here, if you're just waiting with your team, just right around this edge, just boom, kill them. Now you've got a 4v5 with supers in their base. You can just take the Baron right out from under them. So it's just way better to have that map pressure so that you can gain control of their jungle, bait them, kill them, and then take the Baron. Rather than going for the Baron, risking for it, you know, to die, or even if you get it. Like I said, let's say that in Rosy scenario, you kill the jungler here, the only thing left is support, and you decide, you know what, we're just going to go Baron. You go get the Baron, that's great. You start walking it up middle. Your Zed tries to split top lane. They engage on you, 4v5, kill you. And then they teleport up here and hold the Zed in the top lane. So then your Baron's just completely wasted and you didn't have map pressure. So yeah, you did get the gold from it, but it's just much, much better to just get that Inhibitor, get the map pressure, and then go for the Baron after that. Okay, another important concept is to make your own objectives. So this is one of the most dangerous times in the game, is when the first, all the first lanes go down. So this tower, this one, this one, this one, this one are all dead, right? Dragon's dead. Your team's not strong enough to take Baron yet. What do you do? That's one of the big problems. One of the big dilemmas of our time in solo queue is you need to ward into the jungle somehow. So direct your team to come over here. Usually red side is more important because Baron's up. So you want to ward like here, here, sweep this out, and just direct someone like the mid laner, the jungler, or somebody to come up here and have someone split up here. That's one of the easiest things to do. And someone's going to come through the jungle to try to cut them off while they're splitting. You just catch them and kill them. That's the best solution. So just gain control of their red side. Typically, red is usually the best place to go both times. I guess if you're on red side up top, you can try to gain their blue. People just don't walk through this area as much. Gromp feels like it's really far out of the way. Wolves aren't as good as Raptors in terms of experience. And yeah, I mean, most people just go through red. So that's what I would do. Is I would work red side both times. So just ward up this, help your splitter down here, ward this, and then if you're over here, you know, ward this, and this, and help your splitter right here. Depending on different situations, but that's really one of the best objectives to do, is just to gain vision and try to just make some picks with people. Then after you get those picks, then you can press forward and try to get some advantage with towers. Okay. So yeah, you can set up a trap in a bush, like I just talked about. You can counter gank the jungler. So another one, especially if you're like an AP support or something, you know, you can roll up and just sit in this bush when the jungler tries to come down, get someone to run, like where you try to run into this bush and just blow them up as Zyra. If you get your top laner, just to try to retreat. So that can be a nice little surprise. Try to rotate and catch enemies out of position, help your allies, sweep enemy wards, play some deep wards, ward for people who are split pushing. Another thing that's really important is to be a positive influence. So don't just mute people if they're raging, like at first. Try to get them to stop raging. Try to get them to be positive as much as you can, or at least neutral. If they are raging too much, you can mute them. But I think sometimes we'll push the mute button too quickly and the person will keep raging and they'll just keep throwing the game on purpose, or they'll keep tilting the rest of your team. Just say anything that you can to get them to stop raging and just play the game. Just say, it's okay, man. Let's just keep playing. It's good, you know, or whatever. So do whatever you can to get them to stop typing. And you're going to have to win some of those games where the guy's just raging and just won't shut up. And they're just really annoying. You're just going to have to win them. If they're really distracting you, then of course mute them. But do the best that you can to try to talk them out of it so that they, you know, will actually play and give you a better chance to win. Another thing that's really important is... you want to have a long-term perspective. So you can't be myopic. You have to think, okay, I'm going to play a lot of games this season. I'm going to play at least, you know, 300 games this season, or whatever the goal is for you. And so if I lose a couple of games, it's not a huge deal because I'm going to play so many more. And just keep in mind that statistics can be misleading. If you have a 60% win rate, I think that sometimes we think we're going to win virtually every game. You know, if we have 200 games and a 60% win rate. But it's just not true. Like, even if you have a 60% win rate, you could still lose 40 in a row. Like, nothing says that can't happen statistically. You would win the next 60 in a row if that were the case, and you're still 60%. But nothing says you can't lose 40 in a row. So, just have a good system. Know why you're doing what you're doing. I think I recommend lots of good stuff on the channel. But just stick to the system. Focus on each individual game. Each game's a new game. Do the best you can to come at it with a clear mind and a clear heart. And, you know, you will eventually climb. As you learn stuff, as you, you know, perhaps sharpen and get a better champion pool or a better champ selection, or you get better at shot calling, or you get better at warding, you're going to win more games. That's just all there is to it. So just be patient, be calm, and just stick to the system. Have faith in the system. Okay. Finally, do not surrender. Like, there might be some very specific circumstances where you would need to surrender, but it should be extremely rare. Extremely rare. And the reason is, let me do some math for you here really quickly. So even if, let's say that 20% of your games, you have a 20% chance to win them. So that's every 1/5 of your games, you're going to have a 1/5 chance to win the game. Right? So this is probably statistically correct. This is like every 5th game at least, you're going to have a really bad game where it's just going to seem like there's almost no way you can win the game, right? But you should play it out, because even if you only win 20% of those really tough games that are 20% chance to win games, then that means that every 4 games you play, you're going to win 4 more. Because you're going to win 1/5 of 1/5 of your games. So that's 4 games. And if you win, let's say you play 500 games in a season, which is not even 2 games per day. If you play 500 games in a season, that would be a total of 20 more wins, which would equal 2 divisions. Because actually, that's way more than that. That's 4 divisions, isn't it? Yeah, it's 5 games a division. That's 4 divisions. That's a lot. So yeah, and I mean, that's pretty crazy. So even if you play 500 games and you win 4 more games per 100, that'll improve your overall win rate. That's about a 4% extra win rate. then yeah, it'll give you a total of 4 extra divisions roughly. So that's a really huge deal. I mean, that's almost an entire tier. It's like going from silver to gold just because you play the impossible games and you win a 5th of them. So definitely do not surrender. Try to play. I know, you know, you're going to remember all the times that you lose, but there are times. I mean, there was a game yesterday on stream. We were just down astronomically. Every single lane was losing, but Master Yi was doing very well. And eventually we just won the game because I just started following Master Yi around and supporting him. And we won. So it looked like it was almost impossible, but we somehow pulled it through. And that does happen. It doesn't happen a lot, but it doesn't have to happen a lot to be statistically significant at the end of the day. All right? So definitely mute people that are distracting you, but don't surrender. And take a break for at least 15 minutes after 2 losses. So if you've lost a couple of times in a row, and I know I don't do this on stream, but if you know you're just playing by yourself at home, just go chill for about 15 minutes and then come back and you can play some more. Practice new things in flex and normal, so it can give you a different perspective on other roles. And also if it's something that you want to put into a game, like let's say you just saw someone play a really cool bard game and you want to play it, do not take that into ranked right away. Like go practice it in normals a little bit first. And if you find yourself getting frustrated, verbally talk to your screen, but don't type anything. If you have to say something, say it to the screen, but don't type. And just remember, most, you know, a lot of League players, and not all, but a lot of them, you know, they're just random people on the internet. A lot of them are very young. You know, the average League player is probably something like 17 or 18 years old. A lot of them, you know, have sort of anger management issues or just don't have enough perspective, you know, haven't lived enough of life a lot of times to really be chill, right? So now it's not everybody. There are certainly some really cool young people, but just saying that when you make people anonymous on the internet and, you know, they're 17 or 18, there's going to be some raging from time to time. And so just it doesn't matter what they say to you. It doesn't affect you at all. You just start a new game, you may never see the person again. Who cares? You know, if this person's mad at you or they're, you know, they're saying a mean thing on the internet to you, you know, whatever. You know, if they're saying a bunch of crazy, like, racist stuff or something, report that. But a lot of times I don't report it if people just get a little salty sometimes, as long as they're, like, not too over the top with it. But, I mean, you can always report them at the end, too, if you want to. But just keep in mind that whatever they say doesn't matter. It's not going to influence you or your life at all. Hardly. Or it doesn't have to if you don't want it to. You have complete control over how that affects you. So, I mean, I get frustrated too from time to time, but it's important to keep the larger perspective in mind that, you know, if someone's mad at you, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so dominate the vision game. So I have a video about dominating vision as well. You should definitely watch it. I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm going to talk about how you can gain vision dominance, the importance of it. Oops, not bold it. There we go. Like having these in bold. There we go. I don't know why I don't have those in bold. It's crazy. I'm such a bold and underlined kind of guy. I think it helps visually show how that works. But anyways, check out my vision video. I show you how to get some domination vision. But kind of the quick version is aim to have at least 30 wards, 5 control wards. Use control wards aggressively to clear pink. So, for example, if you see somebody, you know, let's say that you are right here. You're trying to defend this tower. You see their support, place a pink over this. If you can safely get through and just drop a control ward here and clear out that pink, or clear out their ward, just do it. Even though they might come in and try to clear the pink, you do not want them to have that vision. And they're going to be out of position. So let's say that you drop a control ward here, clear their ward, fade out of vision, and then they come back in and try to get your pink ward. Let's say it's Soraka here, and then Rengar just jumps out of his bush at her and kills her. So, you know, just shut out all of their vision. If you see them place a ward anywhere, if they place a ward in the middle of your lane, sweep it and kill it. Like, do not let them have wards anywhere. Just always shut out the vision. So that's really, really important. Even if they're going to kill your pink ward, that's fine. Just deny them vision. Okay. And a really good way to get vision also is to get mobility boots, because whenever you auto attack wards, it does not slow you down. So get mobility boots. It helps you in several ways. So it's going to help you, number one, clear vision and get away. So if you're trying to go in here and you pink this, and there's wards, and let's say their mid laners right here in plain vision, let's say you get 2 auto attacks on it, and then their Ahri starts walking this way, you get that 3rd auto, you might actually be able to run out of there and get away before she gets to you. Whereas if you had, you know, normal war, like Ionian boots or something, you may just not quite be fast enough to get away. People have asked about swiftness boots. They're okay, but they don't give you nearly as much speed as mobility boots. Yes, they do give you some more in combat, but I personally highly recommend mobility boots on almost everything. Another reason is whenever you're doing a sweep, so let's say you start right here with a sweep. You have your, like, you know, mobile sweeper. It only lasts for 10 seconds. So when you have mobility boots, you can, and you run through, you can check this, you can check this, and you can probably even check this, this, and maybe even all the way down to here if you have mobility boots, because you're so fast. Whereas if you had normal boots like Ionian, you might be able to check here, here, and like maybe here. But you won't be able to cover nearly as much area. Or let's say that you come in here, get over here, you find a ward, you hit this 3 times, and then you're still able to rotate down here and find this quick enough and hit that 3 times. Whereas if you had Ionian, you'd probably hit this, and then it would wear out after your first hit here or something. So it doesn't seem like it's a huge deal, but being able to cover more ground with your sweep to find wards and clear them out faster and safer is a really, really big deal, and that's why you want mobility boots. It also helps you rotate from bottom to mid or wherever you need to be. Or let's say you back and you need some wards and Dragon's going to be up in a minute, you're running a little late, grab it, run out of there, you're going to get down here faster so that you can set up vision. And also, with Ruby Sightstone, that also helps with sweeps. That gives you 4 wards, it gives you health for survivability, it lowers the cooldown on your Redemption and your Locket, which is great. And it lowers the cooldown on your sweeper by 20%, which a lot of people don't realize it does that. But that means you get 20% more sweeps, which is 20% more ward clears, and that gets even better when you have mobility boots. So that's why mobility boots and Ruby Sightstone are so massively important on so many champions. Okay, you could try to play champions that have extra vision control elements in their kit. So stuff that can check bushes really easily. Zyra's plants are amazing for this. Because how it works with the plants, especially when you're trying to control pink wards. Like, let's say this is pinked. This is very common bottom lane. Let's say you're on red side. This is pinked. They're under tower right now. You haven't pushed a tower. Let's say you have a Caitlyn, and they are, I don't know, Lucian, Thresh, or something like that. You don't know where the jungler is. Well, if you're Zyra, you can come over, put a seed here, and then proc it with your Q. And that'll make a plant spawn. The plant does not get shut out by a control ward. So it's going to give you full vision of this area, like here and here. And that will allow you to safely clear that pink ward. Also, you know, with Zyra in particular, you can, you know, throw a plant down here, and that's going to zone off the Thresh. So Zyra is the queen of controlling the tri-bush in a lot of areas with wards. So, you know, that makes her uniquely powerful. Whereas with most champions, you would have to walk up, place a green ward. It's going to get shut out by the control ward. And then you're either going to have to walk up and just hit the wards in the dark, or you're going to have to physically walk into the bush yourself to see if the jungler's coming. And of course, that can be really dangerous, you know, if their Graves comes rolling up from around this corner when you're standing here. So Zyra adds a lot of extra protection. You can also, you know, if you don't want to have to waste a ward on the dragon, you know, you can just put a W over here, check it, see if they're doing it or not. You can put a W over here and get that blast plant. So those seeds give you a lot of extra vision control, which is really powerful. And then someone else who's really good at vision control is Janna, because she's extremely safe. She's very fast. She's very difficult to kill. So you can run and get those deep wards and get out a lot safer than other champions. So Janna might actually, early game, be able to run in here and ward here and here. Whereas if you're something like Leona, there's no way you're going to be able to walk down here and ward this. Because if the jungler's in this bush, you're dead. Probably, depending on the jungler. But with Janna, you're not. You can just tornado and just run out of there. So, play champions that are good with vision, and that's helpful too. Direct the team to help you with vision. So if you're trying to set up vision around Baron, you know, and they might be there, you know, don't just run right up here by yourself. Tell your team, hey, help me get vision around Baron. And then walk up, have your tank walk in first, and then just slowly walk your wards up. Or if you have to come up, at least ward like over this wall. No, go this way and ward over the wall. Or one of the really safe ways to do it is if they could be anywhere in here, you run straight up this lane, and then you cut through this tri-bush and ward over this wall. Like right here. Because most people, like smart teams, especially around Platinum, will start warding here. Like where I ward, and then they'll sit here and wait for someone to come check, and then they'll come around the corner. But if you come up here and ward over this wall, then they're not going to be in position to get that, probably. Or they're going to be less likely. Because most people, if they're baiting Baron, they're going to wait either here or they're going to wait here. And they're going to have this warded and this warded. So, this is definitely a no-no. This is better, but it can be iffy. And this takes longer to get over here and do this, but this is the safer way to do it. Okay. And then set up vision around objectives about 1 minute early. So, if you see that dragon timer has like 1 minute 15 seconds, go ahead and ping it a few times and just tell your team, hey, let's set up. We need to make sure we get this dragon. Don't tell them that at 20 seconds. Don't start pinging it at 20 seconds. Say, everyone get over here now. It's too late. You may not have position on it. So tell your team, you know, around 1 minute, 1 minute 15, say, hey, let's help me set up this dragon. Let's get it. That type of thing. So just communicate and go back and make sure you have wards before objectives are ready. So make sure you have wards for dragon. Make sure you have wards for Baron before they're about to spawn. And that's really important. Okay, well, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. This was longer than I intended. I was hoping I could get it done in 30 minutes, but at least it's only about an hour long. A lot of good information. I get asked this all the time on stream, so I just wanted to do an updated version here where I could just kind of share with you some of the new stuff that I've learned, as well as sort of recap some of the stuff that I talked about last fall that a lot of people probably have not seen yet. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. If you're new to the channel, I can go ahead and show you around really quick at the end of the video. So we stream every night on YouTube around 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we have these lists. So there's my my dodge pick ban list, and then we've got in-depth itemization. We've got how to carry a support, vision, domination. So I mentioned all three of these. We have other guides as well. So we talk about analyzing metagames, Season 7 psychology, compositions and matchups. So we've got a lot of good stuff. I'm constantly coming up with other ones. I'm about to come up with one that's a team fighting video, so that looks like that'll be pretty good. We have coaching sessions, so you can check out, see what this is all about. We go over a replay. I create a Google Doc, put it in the description, talk about the best tips to improve. So this is really helpful, and it's labeled to where you can see the rank of the person that I'm coaching and which episode it is. If you want to be coached, it's just $20, about an hour-long session. You just send me a replay, a .raffle file. I'll play it and give you the best feedback that I can give you. A lot of people have said these are very, very helpful, and so that will hopefully inspire you to perform and do better. So $20, it's a steal. It's a really, really good bargain. I think I can offer a lot of really strong advice, so that's helpful. Also offer champion guides. Right now, these are $20 as well. I'm probably going to have to raise the price on these eventually. These take a very long time to do. They're about 3 hours a piece to do. But if you want just a super in-depth guide for a very specific champion, I highly recommend checking these out. Lots of depth, has a Google Doc, just like every video. It's got the timestamps, and it'll just walk you through and give you the best tips to help you succeed with any of those champions that you're interested in. And then I have playlists. So if you want to watch just Janna, for example, you're like, hey, you know, Janna looks pretty good on stream. I want to watch more. You just click on it. It'll start you with the newest game, work its way back to the oldest. There's a lot of Janna. I've got almost 70 Janna, but I have a bunch of different champions as well. I'll give you the recommended runes in the description. But we've got a lot of different supports. So we've got Janna, Nautilus, Tom Kench, Zyra. Got some Malzahar before he was nerfed. Got some Soraka, Nami, Sona, you know, Alistar, Lulu. So constantly adding in more stuff there if you're interested in that. You can catch all of the past streams here. Now, I don't do this. I haven't done this with all of them, but I'm going to try to go back and be more diligent with this. If you miss a stream, you can go back, and I'm going to put in the timestamps. It'll tell you the champion and when I play it. So if you just want to say, hey, that's really weird, I've never seen him play cast mid, then you can click on that, check it out. Or you're like, oh, okay, there's some Ivern jungle. I love Ivern jungle. You can click on that and check that out. So I'm going to try to go back through and, you know, label these for you. That does take some time to do, and I've done that off and on, but I am going to try to commit to doing that more. So within a couple of days, it takes the stream like about a day to process, half a day to process because they're so long. and Google. So I can't go through and put the timestamps in, unfortunately, until after the stream processes. But you know, the next day I should be able to go through and put the timestamps in. So if you've missed something and you want to go back and check it out, then you can do that. And also, if I do put the timestamps in, then you can actually search the channel. If you just go Ivern, for example, you click on it, it'll tell you the Ivern games. So I meant it, and the way that it mentions it is kind of strange sometimes. Like I mention it here in 7.1, but you can find streams where I've played Ivern, for example. So he shows up in the tier list a lot. But you can also just click. It'll have the newest stream typically is up near the top where you can find it. Click on it. Like you saw there, description. Oh, there's some Ivern. Or if you want to see like Leona or Morgana or whatever, if I, you know, when I get all of these labeled, then you should be able to scroll back and find those games that you want to see. So I'm going to try to make it a lot more accessible. I know that's helpful because nobody's going to have time to go through and watch 8 hours probably of the stream. So this will help you find your favorite games. So if you just want to see a couple of games, you want to, you know, watch my Kled game or watch my Ivern game. Kled game's not very good. Then you can do that. So I'm going to try to go through and do that more for people as well. Then I'll also cover Total War Warhammer. I have a bunch of different campaigns. If you want to check that out, I'm going to do a lot of Warhammer 2 when that comes out. I have tried to do some other games. I do have some XCOM 2 on the channel, but not a lot. I'm mostly League of Legends, almost all League of Legends. That's where the vast majority of my viewers want to see, and that's what takes a lot of time to keep up with. So that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned a lot, and good luck out there. Have a great day.